That's so true, you know. Well, the hand is going.
Now, where you're on your feet, you could turn back down to 15 because I think the heat come up.
Oh, okay. So we get warm.
Yeah.
And I could put the lights on too.
Well,
Yeah.
It's probably better for the camera.
Good.
okay.
For all the Google people. We have a beautiful day there. We don't have a big message. We're just going outside and have a little bit sunbathing. Get some vitamin D going. Okay. Where were we? Daniel. Still in Daniel. Welcome for all the people on the internet. And I keep forgetting them. I almost pretend they're not there, but they're watching. Right.
What station would that be on? The television?
It's only available over the internet. When you when you go on the internet, you have to go to video.google.com, and then you see me. You have to put in Rudimike and search Rudimike, and then you see all my stories there. I got over 70 on them now.
Gosh, that'd take quite a while to sit and watch that.
Well, that's all from last year. Oh yeah, you could really get involved there.
You put the day in there.
I tell people when they can't fall asleep at night, they should go to my webpage, and then within 5 minutes they're asleep. No more sleeping pill needed. So, anyway, I always like to say at the beginning, we're going to make it short or we make it long today?
Short.
Short. Okay, that's it. Okay, I speak a little faster. First, I like to always remember that Jesus Christ died for me, and I hope He died for you, and for especially you on the watching list. Today, our main key verse is, "And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another." Now, just imagine you have a dream there, and the 4 beasts coming out of the sea.
Thank you.
7-3.
Not only that they came out of it, but they were diverse. They were different from one another.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we got that settled.
What kind of beasts were they?
We'll get in a minute to it. One was a lion, one was a leopard, one was a bear, and one didn't have a name. It was just a big beast.
Oh.
Because I actually wanted to go back a little bit, but when the king had a second dream there, and it was a big tree. I'm talking still about Nebuchadnezzar, and they had a big. He seen a big tree, and he found out by himself that he wasn't himself what got hewn down. That means his kingdom would go down the drain. After the king got back his understanding from an animal-like experience, he was eating grass and all that stuff. It wasn't long after his death, his Belshazzar, his grandchild, took over the kingdom. We're talking now Babylon. We're talking about, this is all historical stuff, and this is all historical facts. So once you don't know, it's almost like me saying in the 60s, or what was it, close to the 70s, Pierre Elliott Trudeau was our prime minister. So if I tell this to a little child here today, what is kind of, you say, who was he?
Yeah.
And that's the same position we have. We have to get a little bit understanding about the past, about the kingdoms. The amazing part is that all those kingdoms, all the 4 beasts, what Daniel has seen there, that they fit in the history. And that they fit over I guess, almost 600 years before. And then even now, it's still fulfilling. And it's written 2,400 years or more ago. I mean, that's a prophecy if you want to know a prophecy. And he always comes back to the same. This Belshazzar gave a big party. He took all the implements from the temple, what was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, and they were exiled to Babylon. And he took all those implements and had a big party. And then all of a sudden there was a handwriting on the wall, and we had that last time, Mene, Tekel, Paris. And that means basically, Mene, that it's numbered, that God numbered your kingdom, your time is up. So that's basically what he said. And Tekel is the weight. He says, thou art weighed in balances. That means I'm going to weigh you out, and I see what you have. And you have everything according to the weight, but you want more. You don't have enough. That's why it says, and he was found waiting. Waiting and wanting. You know, like if we have that today with the kids, I want more. You know, we don't go by need. So the same night where Belshazzar was slain, Babylon was taken over by the Persian, and Darius is the new king. So we are half through the book of Daniel actually, and the other half is chapter 7, what we go into is the 4 beasts. We explain that. Chapter 8 is the rams and the goats. Chapter 9 is the 70 weeks, which is a very complicated aspect. I hardly can wait to get in to confuse everybody. Chapter 10, the dark princes, and chapter 11, the Gentiles' succession. Chapter 12, the completion and finishing of all things. Basically, all I can say, it is very interesting when you really get into it. So we're coming to the second chapter. Back with the 7th chapter, he almost explains the whole thing. We remember when he had that big figure. I don't know if I have. I actually should give that to you, then you can look at that. That is the big vision he's seen. And I made a really, not a very good replica. But the head, the golden head, was Babylon. And Daniel sees a winged lion. And actually I have all those things. I maybe should show it a couple more times. It was a winged lion. That was the one beast. But the beast is not... The beast or the lion is not, it's an empire, it's a government. Because when you read it in the scripture, it was like a lion with wings. Oh. So it was not really a lion flying like this is depicted. This is not the empire, but it was like. Those are all those visions are different empires.
Okay.
So the golden head, what he's seen right in the 2nd chapter, he's seen that golden head. The golden head is Babylon, was Nebuchadnezzar. That's how he explains his dream. He said, it's you, the golden head. Now the silver head was Medo-Persia. And he sees a bear with 3 ribs in his mouth.
Oh yes.
And don't forget, this is prophecy from quite a while, you know. So a bear with 3 ribs in the mouth. What basically is, I'm going a little bit ahead, but I'll find it back. What basically was the leaders when he defeated Babylon. That was the Medo-Persia, and there were actually 4 kings. One of them survived and ruled, and he destroyed 3 of them, and that's why he has that 3 ribs in a mouth. The next one, I go a little faster on that one. The next one was brass, and that was a leopard. That was the Greek Empire with Alexander the Great.
He's got a lot of heads.
There again, there's the 4 leaders.
Oh.
You know, that's like Prime Minister so and so and Prime Minister so and so from a group who ruled it. That was the same with the Roman Empire. They had different. How would you say them? How we call them here? Like in the Senate or House of Parliament, we have representatives, rulers of Ontario, rulers of Nova Scotia, and so on. Boy, I'm getting too fast here. And of course the next empire was that terrible beast. Where's the terrible beast? Ah, here it is. And that's the terrible beast with the 10 horns.
Oh.
And that's the Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Now who defeated the Roman Empire?
Was it the Lord?
Nobody.
Nobody.
It's still existing.
Oh.
That's why we have the 10 horns. And that's why we have the feet of iron and clay.
Mm-hmm.
They're vulnerable. They don't agree with one another. They fight between each other. And that's what we still have today existing, which is the Roman Empire. And there will be that little horn, what comes out, like here. what gets stronger, and this will become the Antichrist, what will try to rule the entire world. And we're very close to that will be happening in our ecumenical and all the things in the world, what's going to happen. We're all getting together, global economy they call it today, and global law, and global, everything is global. And that's where that little horn will come and become stronger. Okay. The kingdom, what comes after that, is very important. Because there was a stone, if you see that on that, where we have that, who's got it? You got it. What's the one way on the bottom? That's a stone but it's not cut by hands. The way bottom, that's actually the fifth empire. And that will the empire God will set up. And that's an eternal empire. And that is a stone cut not by hand. That means there's no man had any power into forming that. And that will destroy the whole figure. The whole figure will collapse by that stone. And that stone will really make an end and will have a judgment on everything, on all the empires. And that's the fifth empire. And we should not forget that fifth empire, because that is basically where we, as Christians, hoping for the return of Jesus Christ. I have that on Daniel. When you go back to Daniel in the second chapter and start on the 31st verse, and I read that a little bit, that explains basically that empire which we had already in the second chapter. Most likely we all forgotten it, but it's compared with the seventh. It says, "Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. The image of the head was fine gold, his breasts and arms silver, and his belly and his thighs were brass, and his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay." So that's actually the first dream what Nebuchadnezzar had, what Daniel explained. And right there he explained the whole aspect is from God explained to him. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, and were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron and clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like a shaft of the summer threshing floor. Like that's how powerful it was. The whole figure, all the empires will be just smashed in like a threshing floor, like the shaft in the wind, that will be blown away. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. But it shall break in pieces and consume all kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that that stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great gold, has made known to the king that what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. See, there you have, they basically have the whole explanation what each kingdom is and how it will be destroyed. That God sets up the final kingdom, and that's what we're all hoping for, the second coming of Jesus Christ. And every Christian will somehow see that, and it all forms together. That took now over almost 2,500 years to come to pass. That's the remarkable thing when we see they doubting who wrote what in the Bible, and they say, did Daniel really write it? No, Nebuchadnezzar wrote the 4th chapter. And who wrote this? And they're putting doubt in all the scholars. Who cares? It is proven, scripture-wise, that they have found segments of the book of Daniel. It doesn't matter who wrote it. It is 400 or 500 years before Christ. So why argue about it? Who wrote it? The fact is that it was written. Right. And that it was prophesied. And that it comes to pass. Those are some of the most applying principles of prophecies. I mean, we have all kind of prophet. I can be a big prophet. We're on the end of the year, and I prophesize 100 different things. Our prime minister will be killed, assassinated. A big earthquake will be happening. So I make 100 of them. And then whatever comes true, maybe 5 or 6, or maybe I hit 10 or 11 or 12 of the prophecies. I say, see, I told you so. But the 80 or 85 what didn't come true, I will tell nobody, I was wrong. But, I only say, look what I did. And then I become that big, mighty old prophet. We should remember that in the olden times when the prophet was wrong, he would be stoned. If somebody declared, I'm a prophet of God, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, like Daniel to Nebuchadnezzar, if he would be wrong in anything of it, they would have killed him. Because a prophet of God cannot be wrong. Period. And we would have to kill a lot of people today. Because the internet is full of prophecies and full of things. And some of it's good, and some of it's let the buyer beware. They're selling snake oil too on the internet, Okay, a little scripture origin history. This is always nice, what I've just been talking about. It's always nice to refresh and enhance our understanding. When Alexander the Great was ruling the world, Greek was the most common language. So 70 of the best scholars they took together and they were assembled to translate the Tanakh. The Tanakh is the Old Testament, the Jewish Old Testament Bible. It's called the Tanakh. And those people, because the Greek was the common language of them, and I guess I said that before in some ways, they didn't speak any more Hebrew. Hebrew became just a side language, almost like when we here in the Western Canada or Eastern, we don't speak too much French. But yet everybody understands maybe a little or so, but it's not a common language. So what if the Old Jewish Testament would be in French, we would say, hey, we got to translate that into English. And that's exactly what they did in that time. They translated the Hebrew and the Aramaic into Greek, what was the common language at that time under Alexander the Great. It took them 15 years to do that. So it wasn't an easy task. They called it the Septuagint, and it's still called like that today, which is just a fancy word of 70, because there were 70 people. Or some people argue now they were 68 or 72. It's amazing when you do go to college, how they try to pervert your mind somehow with really little things, but has no bearings of anything. Abbreviated, it is just LXX. If you see that in the Bible as a reference, LXX, that means nothing. It's a Roman numeral. L is 50 and X is 10, so it basically means 70. That it comes from that text, the Septuagint, which is the most common things to evaluate anything. There's other texts available, but again, there's all kind of controversy going on with it. Okay, Jesus Christ himself refers to Daniel, and I'm just quoting one verse. It's in Matthew 24:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation. That's another big thing to understand. Actually, Antiochus Epiphanes did sacrifice a pig in the house of the holy. And that was one abomination of desolation. It was to really smear the holy place of God. But in that one, Jesus said, when ye therefore see the abomination of desolation, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. So Jesus actually tells us to read and let us understand. And you will. Once you get into the whole thing and know a little bit about historical facts, it becomes more clear the more you involve yourself with it. We had the 4 beasts, and I showed them already. We're really doing good in time. What we got today? I got another 5 minutes. Every time I turn around, I got another 5 minutes. The leopard, the Daniel. So we understand that when it says, Daniel spake and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, 4 winds. That's the second verse in Daniel 7. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. That is very easy to understand when you understand what are the 4 winds are. The 4 winds, what are they? It's striving. Those are the 4 empires, what you see in the first 4 here. And they're striving. Like the wind, it doesn't know where to go, and they argue and debate and doing this. And they strove upon the great sea, and he actually says that right there. The great sea is the multitude of people. And if you, just as an example, if you look for Revelation 17:15, it says, And he said unto me, The water which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. So it said, and the water that thou sawest. So the water represents the people, the multitudes, the nations, and the tongues. And that's the same with the sea. It does basically mean they came out of the multitude of people, the 4 beasts. Like I said, that can be all fairly confusing. And he said unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore down sitteth, there's the multitude of people. Okay, now we went into the lion. Who was the lion? Babylon. Who was the bear? The bear was Medo-Persia. That was when they took over. There's actually a good story. There was a big river going through Babylon, and they had such a gate. Actually, they could have horse races on top of the walls. That's how wide the walls were. They had chariots races right on top of the wall, and so it was almost. You couldn't impregnate it. You couldn't fight that. It was a real big thing. But the river was going through there. You know what those smart people did, those Medo-Persians? They obstructed the river, so the river goes down, and they went under the river and went into the city and took them all overnight. Another great thing is see, many times when we think, oh, nothing can happen, then it will happen, So, basically, Medo-Persia is to overrule Babylon. He had 3 states in there, Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. So there were 3 states in there, and that's the 3 ribs what we see in the bear. Uh-oh. Telephone. I better hurry. The Grecian Empire. I could go on another second part, which I probably shouldn't be doing. I'll be right back.